Welcome to Discovering Prophecy. My name is Ariel. I'm glad you're here for this first episode in which I will introduce what this channel is for, what this is about. Thank you for joining. So, prophecy. What is prophecy? What is its function? This is what this introduction is going to be so that we can both be on the same page. I don't want to disappoint you if you're looking for who's going to win next year's election, conspiracy theories, catastrophes. There's plenty of other YouTube channels for that. We're actually going to be looking at prophecy as a concept, as a practical tool for life, and not just simply something that's speculative or for the purpose of fear-mongering. So I hope that this resonates with you. I hope that this is what you're here for. If I were to ask you, what's prophecy? What is it for? I'm not sure what you would say, but I know what I would have said to you some years back. Actually, I wouldn't have said much of anything. I would have responded like this little gift that I found some time ago. There you go. I want you to get the full experience. This is maybe how I would have probably responded to you. If a picture is 1,000 words, this is about 90,000 words right there. The reaction is precious, but also true. That's how I would have responded. And maybe some of us, when asked that question, you're starting to think to yourself, I honestly don't know. What is prophecy about? For me, prophecy for a time was, Mayan calendars predicting that in the year 2012, everything was going to come to a destruction. At least that's what Hollywood told us. And there were many other prophecies, meteors taking place, etc. But I want you to know what prophecy presents itself as. It's an opportunity, it's an invitation to experience the supernatural. And so prophecy is not trying to say, hey, get better at history or learn these awesome facts about archaeology. What prophecy actually presents to every human being is an opportunity to say prophecy is this bridge that you can cross from what we know and what we can see as humans and enter into a realm where we can supernaturally experience things that, we couldn't otherwise. And prophecy lends itself for that. And again, I really like these. If I were to say to myself, maybe to you, that this is what prophecy is an invitation to experience the supernatural, maybe this would have been the the response. Say, what? I love the little doggy reaction. So supernatural, that's a loaded word too. And by supernatural, I don't mean that you're going to start levitating or going through walls. By the supernatural, there's something even way more subjective that we can experience in regards to the supernatural. And prophecy provides that. I'm not going to develop that right now, but I'm just putting it out there. That's what prophecy is. It's been over 20 years that I've been studying it, sharing it with people, and it wasn't there on the first couple of years, but as I've progressed and understood, I've come to realize this is where the metaphysical and the physical touch, where the natural and the supernatural touch, and actually we can cross over into that realm that by faith we can experience things that we could not otherwise. Again, I want us to start maybe putting apart or putting aside ideas that we've had in regards to prophecy. Prophecy primarily is not about the future, which, bear with me, all right, I discovered these and I thought these were great. Maybe that's your response right now. What? I thought every prophecy was about the future itself. That's all prophecy is about. And I want to actually make the argument and the following presentations that I'll be creating, showing that prophecy is not about the future, at least not primarily. And those elements that have a predictive element, there are some predictive prophecies, yes, but the bulk of them are not. The vast majority of prophecy are not attempts to predict the future. That's right. What? So I want us to start like this. This is the introduction, and I'm glad you're here because then you'll know what this channel will be and what it will not be. And maybe this is not something you're looking for, and that's okay. Because this is what I feel needs to be said. And the presentations in regards to prophecy that if you give it a chance, I'm almost sure you'll realize that's pretty good. It's very applicable. It's very useful for life when prophecies approach this way. Prophecy will always have two inherent components to it. Prophecy, most people have relegated to the Inquirer or the Star and all these other things. Right now in the supermarkets, whenever there's a war erupting or some catastrophe, somewhat so and so predicted this, Nostradamus or whatever. Well, there's two ingredients that kind of let you know whether something's legit or not. And one of them, the first one that I want to talk to about, is divine moral accountability. Prophecy has a strong moral component and accountability. And what does that mean? You may or may not know who this individual is. I know him because when I was in high school, he was all over the news. We had gone to war against him. And at that point, he had reached a place in his life where he felt untouchable. There was a lot of things he had done. There were a lot of crimes that he had committed, some to his own people. And yet he felt immune, like there's no accountability. And if I would have walked up to Saddam Hussein many years ago and said, "Sir, there's a God in heaven that is seeing what you're doing, even what the news are not reporting. He sees everything, and he will hold you accountable to that." I think that's would have been his response, what you're seeing on the screen, just laughing it off, like, who's going to touch me? Who can touch me? Well, he got touched, and he was held accountable. And you would say, well, he was held accountable by just a secular entity. It wasn't like a lightning bolt from heaven. I'll say this is where prophecy comes into play in regards to helping us see behind the curtains, behind what we see naturally. You will begin to see that history, through the lens of prophecy, takes a whole different flavor. And we do see God's hand working and bringing about what we call justice. In this case, it will be accountability. The other inherent ingredient that is present in every single prophetic declaration is divine ethical accountability. And I'm going to give you another example from history. You may be familiar or more familiar with this individual. His name is Karl Marx. He wrote a book. I bought it, wanted to see it for myself, read it myself, critique it. And he's very well known, Karl Marx, for a statement in which he spoke about religion as an opioid, as a narcotic that numbs people's senses and causes them to be dormant, malleable, easy to be controlled. And I can't really fault him for thinking that, because throughout history, we all can see that there had been very despotic, cruel, controlling governments. And their concern was that as their population that they controlled grew, they were of course concerned that they would revolt and have a revolution, as we've seen in history happen when people are not happy with the government they're under. And so how did governments try to mitigate this? Well, they would approach religious institutions and use religion, according to Marx, as an injection into the brain of individuals by saying, hey, don't worry if you are suffering right now. Don't worry about if your child mortality is through the roof. And we're not providing any kind of care for you. We're just exploiting you to the bone. Don't worry, in heaven, you will be rewarded. So just be a good boy, be a good girl, go out there and allow us to exploit the living daylights out of you. Karl Marx argued that that's what religion does. It calms the population. It keeps everyone willing to be subjugated with the promise of a hereafter. I can't, necessarily blame him for that conclusion. But I, of course, disagree with that. I disagree in this point. It's not because I don't like it. It has nothing to do with liking it or not liking it. It has to do with this. The opioid, to me, is not religion. The opioid for me is a godless view of the world. That's the real opioid for me, because the ones that were doing the exploiting were the powerful and the rich. And to them, even though they appealed to religious institutions, they themselves manifested sufficient evidence that they did not believe in any God. Even at times, religious prelates, religious leaders within the ecclesiastical institution, by their actions, if actions speak louder than words, they were avowed atheists with just fancy robes and all the garb that religious leaders would wear. On the outside, they appeared religious, but on the inside, they were as godless as some of these atheistic, communistic governments were. So for me, the opioid is the belief, the conviction that I have power, I have authority, I have wealth, and no one is powerful enough to challenge me. Therefore, I will do as I want. And there is no God. And who's going to stop me from doing this? That's the true opioid for me. the belief that I will never be held accountable for the abuses and exploits that I have. And as long as I have life, I will do that, live life to its most. I don't know how you can do that, but anyways, Karl Marx brings to view the idea that there's this ethical accountability that God brings, how humans treat other humans, and that the real opioid is removing God out of the picture. We'll talk more at length in these things as we go into the other resources. Maybe I'll pause right now and talk about those other resources. Right now, if you're in the YouTube channel, you'll see that there are 16 audio episodes, podcast episodes available. They're also available on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and several others, Amazon, Pandora. You can just search for Discovering Prophecy and you'll find those 16 audio episodes. Each of those episodes have a link to a handout, a study guide that you can download from Dropbox. And also, if you stumble on this as a podcast, you have discovered that there's a YouTube link as well. And so in this channel, each of those episodes also have that the link to those YouTube presentations that are there for you to watch, because there's some graphics that I use, sometimes videos. And so those resources are there for you to take advantage, already made. These resources that I'm making right now will be supplemental or in addition to. There's a lot of things that I didn't get to talk. 16 sessions. There was a lot of things that I left out. So these will also be part of that. But I wanted you to know what our platform will be. Where will we be starting from? Not to scare, not to bring about fear-mongering. And we will see in every presentation of prophecy that morality and ethics are core components of prophecy itself, at least the prophecy found in the scriptures. There is something that prophecy is designed to reveal. We already learned primarily it's not the future, but what does it show? And what I think is one of the primary things that it reveals is the divine heart. Before you hit stop or swipe away, I am not advocating that prophecy is about fuzzy wuzzy, let's hug each other and God is a big, giant, fluffy teddy bear. That's not what I mean by the divine heart. What do I mean by the divine heart? I was trying to find an animation that would convey this. This is the closest thing that I could find, and I hope it makes sense to you. These are a little animation of the galaxies out in space. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, a prophetic statement in the Bible that says that as high as the heavens are above the earth, so God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts and his ways higher than our ways, which begins to help us, at least hopefully help you understand, prophecy gives us perspective when it reveals God's heart, his mind, in the way that you would have perspective if you were to step outside on a starry night and begin to look around you at the cosmos. When I used to live in South Dakota, because of the flatness of that state, you get a humongous horizon. And I remember on summer nights, I would go there as the sun had just set. There was still that peach purple glow in the horizon. And I began to see the stars coming out as the darkness gradually set in. I was just blown away by how small I all of a sudden felt as I began to look all around me at all those stars. Now you can YouTube this. There are videos that show like our planet, and all the beautiful things in here, and the Andes and all the other giant landscapes that we have. But then it zooms out and our planet seems quite small, but then it really seems tiny when compared to our sun. But then there are videos that put our sun next to other stars that are out there that are 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times bigger than our sun. And then all of a sudden, the planet can't even be shown. Our planet cannot even be seen on the screen. And that gives us perspective in regards to the heart and mind of God. It's an appeal to humility. Prophecy helps us recognize that when we approach prophecy, we are approaching a mind bigger than ours. And all of us, myself included, we have a hard time getting God out of our little boxes. And no matter how big you think your box is tiny compared to the reality of God, just as our sun is super uber tiny compared to some of the other stars that are in the universe. And if that's the size of our sun, what's the size of our planet? What's the size of your box in which you've placed God in? So prophecy stretches our ideas and stretches our beliefs and continually challenges us to expand and think bigger and larger pictures of who God is. And that's exciting to me. It means that I'm not going to get bored. And so I wanted to emphasize that we will look, and every time we look at prophecy, we will get glimpses, because this is one of the primary purposes for prophecy. The other one is the revelation of the human heart. Now, what does that mean? Again, no kumbaya or fuzzy wuzzies. Is actually, this is the reason why this channel probably will not get very popular. I'm not expecting, hundreds of views, because the focus is something that by nature we don't feel comfortable with. I've already showed a picture of Saddam Hussein, and you may have liked that, that, he'll get what is coming to him. But prophecy doesn't allow us to simply say the problem is out there, he's the problem, she's the problem. Prophecy ultimately begins to reveal to each human heart the darkness inside each of our hearts. That's not comfortable. I know from experience. I still know from experience. It is not a comfortable journey, but yet one that is necessary if you and I are to behave as humans. And more on that as we get into the episodes later on. But this is, for me, one of the most practical benefits of studying prophecy, in that it helps us recognize the vastness and greatness of God and our need, our own brokenness. We may think, the problems are with this political party or that political party or this group or that group. Prophecy kind of levels the field and says, no, the problem is with all of you, myself included, yourself included. And that's where the rub comes in, right? That's when I'm going to go and watch, Mr. Beast or something like that. Well, you can do that. But there is moral accountability. There is ethical accountability. And not just for Saddam Hussein or Karl Marx or whoever else may be in our radar, but for you and I as well. And this is not God's threat. Prophecy is more like getting a blood test and then getting the results. I have high cholesterol. And the reason I know that is not because, I can look at my hands or I can look at my eyeball and be like, I have high cholesterol. I had to have my blood drawn, sent to a lab, and done some exams on, run some tests on it, and then the results came back and the doctor was like, 380. That's where it was over a decade ago. It's not there anymore, thank God. But had I not known, I would not have known the urgency in which I needed to make some urgent lifestyle changes. And that's what prophecy does. That's the benefit of prophecy. It's not there to tell us how bad we are. It's there to tell us how good God is in helping us with the problems that won't go away simply because I don't know about them. I could have said, hey, ignorance is bliss. If I don't know about my cholesterol, I won't have any cholesterol problems. But how logical and reasonable is that? And you and I can say, well, ignorance is bliss. And if ignorance is not bliss in cholesterol, moral and ethics definitely are not either. So I want to encourage you, please make it a point to subscribe and join me as we continue with this, because prophecy ultimately leaves us with hope. Prophecy doesn't just reveal the wickedness of individuals. It reveals how God could approach these individuals with very severe cases of wickedness and immorality and transform them. Because again, remember how we started off. Prophecy is an invitation to experience the supernatural. It is not the supernatural the way you and I may think, beds levitating or whatever, lights flickering. The supernatural is a power that transforms, a power that changes. And anyways, we'll expand more of that. This is just the intro, but just know that every episode will leave us with joy and peace, because hope has been re-emphasized and brought back front and center into our minds. So that's it. This is the introduction. This is what I hope to be able to provide for you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like, please subscribe, because the next time I upload a video, you'll be able to be notified and then you can watch it. And I do hope that I'll see you next in the next video, in which we'll be going into the first chapter and introduction to the book of Daniel, an amazing book of prophecy that I think you will be blessed tremendously. See you then.